Life is not always peaceful. Sometimes it feels like a battlefield, not with weapons, but with pressure, competition, conflict, and constant challenges. Most people walk into these situations unprepared, reacting emotionally, hoping things will work out. This book begins with a hard truth. If you do not understand strategy, you become a pawn in someone else's game. And before we go further, if you want to think more clearly and move through life with awareness, subscribe to the book day and become better than yesterday. This book, The 33 Strategies of War, is written by Robert Greene. Unlike books about motivation or productivity, this one deals with conflict, not just wars between nations, but wars of ego, competition, pressure, and survival that play out in everyday life. Greene studied military history, political struggles, business rivalries, and personal power conflicts. What he found was consistent. People don't lose because they lack strength. They lose because they lack strategy. They react emotionally. They rush. They fight the wrong battles. They reveal their intentions too early. The first lesson of this book is simple but uncomfortable. War is psychological before it is physical. Most battles are won or lost in the mind long before action begins. Fear, anger, ego, and impatience cloud judgment. When emotions take control, strategy disappears. Greene opens by warning against emotional warfare. When you react instead of think, you give control to your opponent. This opponent may not be a person. It could be a problem, a deadline, a difficult environment, or even your own impulses. One of the most important ideas introduced early is that clarity is power. In moments of conflict, most people narrow their vision. They focus on immediate threats instead of the bigger picture. Strategic thinkers do the opposite. They step back. They widen their perspective. They observe patterns. Greene emphasizes that war, in any form, rewards patience and preparation. Rushing feels powerful, but it often leads to mistakes. History is full of strong armies and intelligent leaders who lost because they acted too quickly or underestimated the situation. This book does not glorify violence. It treats war as a metaphor for life under pressure, negotiations, competition, crisis, even internal struggles like addiction, fear, and self-doubt. Greene's message is not to seek conflict, but to be ready for it. Avoiding strategy does not create peace. It creates vulnerability. Another key idea in this opening section is that you must first win the inner war. If you cannot control your emotions, impulses, and reactions, no external strategy will save you. Discipline is the foundation of all strategic thinking. This book asks you to stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing life as a terrain that can be understood and navigated. Robert Greene makes one thing very clear early in the 33 Strategies of War. The first battlefield is always inside your own mind. Before you face opponents, obstacles, or pressure from the outside world, you must confront your inner chaos. The very first strategy is emotional control. Greene explains that people rarely lose because they lack intelligence or resources. They lose because emotions hijack their judgment. Anger makes them reckless, fear makes them defensive, ego makes them blind, and impatience makes them rush into traps. In moments of conflict, emotions narrow your vision. You stop seeing the full situation. You focus on proving a point instead of winning the outcome. This is how people defeat themselves. Strategic thinkers do the opposite. They slow down internally even when the situation feels urgent. They observe instead of react. They let others reveal their intentions while they stay unreadable. Greene uses history to show that the most successful leaders were not the most aggressive, but the most composed. They could endure pressure without collapsing into impulse. They understood that emotional reactions are predictable and predictability is weakness. One of the most dangerous emotional traps Greene warns about is ego. Ego demands validation. It wants to win arguments, defend pride, and respond immediately to disrespect. But strategy is not about ego, it is about results. When ego takes over, people fight the wrong battles. They respond to insults. They chase revenge. They expose themselves unnecessarily. A strategic mind knows when not to fight. Greene also introduces the idea of detachment. Detachment does not mean apathy. It means creating distance between your emotions and your decisions. When you are emotionally attached to outcomes, you become rigid. When you are detached, you become flexible. Flexibility is power. Another key lesson here is learning to endure discomfort. Strategy often requires waiting, observing, and holding back when every instinct urges you to act. Most people cannot tolerate this tension. They act simply to relieve discomfort, not because action is wise. This is why patience is a weapon. Those who wait force others to reveal mistakes. Greene warns that emotional people are easy to manipulate. They advertise their weaknesses through their reactions. Anger signals insecurity. Defensiveness signals fear. Overconfidence signals blindness. A calm presence, on the other hand, creates uncertainty in others. When people cannot read you, they hesitate. Hesitation creates advantage. This section of the book teaches that self-control is not passive. It is active dominance over your own impulses. You are not suppressing emotion. You are choosing when and how to act. Greene encourages developing rituals and habits that strengthen inner discipline. Reflection, preparation, silence before response. These are not small practices. They are strategic foundations. If you cannot control yourself, you will always be reacting to others' strategies instead of executing your own. Once inner control is established, Robert Greene moves to a counterintuitive truth. Direct confrontation is often the weakest strategy. Most people assume strength means facing problems head-on. History shows the opposite. The strongest strategists win by being indirect, unpredictable, and patient. Greene explains that when you attack directly, you reveal your intentions. You give the other side time to prepare, defend, and counter. Direct force invites resistance. Indirect strategy creates confusion. This is why some of the greatest victories in history were achieved without obvious battles. The opponent was outmaneuvered before they even realized what was happening. Indirect strategy means approaching goals from unexpected angles. Instead of confronting resistance, you go around it. Instead of arguing, you change the environment. Instead of forcing outcomes, you shape conditions so the outcome becomes inevitable. In everyday life, this applies more than we realize. When you push people directly, they push back. When you pressure, they resist. When you demand, they defend their position. Indirect influence bypasses ego. Greene emphasizes misdirection as a core tactic. When people think they know your intentions, they relax. When they believe they understand you, they stop paying attention. This creates opportunity. This does not mean deception for cruelty. It means not revealing your full plan too early. It means protecting your intentions until the right moment. Another powerful idea here is the power of positioning. Where you place yourself matters more than how hard you fight. If you choose favorable terrain, even a small effort can have large impact. If you fight on unfavorable terrain, even great effort can fail. In business, this means choosing markets wisely instead of competing head-on. In life, it means choosing environments that support growth instead of fighting constant resistance. In conflict, it means knowing when to step back and let others expose their weaknesses. Greene also discusses the danger of predictability. When people know how you will react, they can control you. Patterns become traps. Strategic thinkers vary their responses. They remain adaptable. Adaptability is a recurring theme in this book. Fixed plans break under pressure. Flexible strategies evolve. Those who cling rigidly to one approach often fail when conditions change. Greene warns against emotional commitment to a single strategy. Attachment creates blindness. Strategy requires adjustment. What worked yesterday may not work today. Another key lesson here is letting others overextend. When people feel confident, they often expose themselves. They become careless. Strategic patience allows mistakes to emerge naturally. Intervening too early can save your opponent. This section teaches restraint. the ability to wait, to watch, to allow situations to unfold before acting. Indirect strategy is not about avoiding action. It is about choosing the right moment and the right angle. Those who rush reveal desperation. Those who wait project strength. After exploring indirect attack, Robert Greene shifts to something just as important: defense. Strategy is not only about advancing, it's about protecting yourself from being pulled into chaos, traps, and unnecessary losses. Greene makes a crucial point here. Not every battle should be fought. Many people lose not because they are weak, but because they fight too often, in the wrong places, and for the wrong reasons. One of the first defensive principles is knowing when to retreat. Retreat is not surrender, it is repositioning. History shows that some of the smartest leaders survived and later won because they knew when to step back, conserve energy, and wait for better conditions. Those who fought every battle exhausted themselves. In life, retreat might mean disengaging from toxic environments, stepping away from unproductive arguments, or temporarily abandoning a losing strategy. Pride often makes people stay in bad situations far longer than they should. Greene warns that ego turns defense into humiliation. When people feel retreat equals weakness, they trap themselves. Strategic thinkers understand that survival is victory when conditions are unfavorable. Another defensive strategy Greene emphasizes is fortification. This means strengthening your position so attacks lose impact. In practical terms, this could mean building skills that make you less replaceable, creating financial buffers, or cultivating emotional stability so criticism doesn't destabilize you. Strong defenses discourage attack. When people sense resilience, they hesitate. Greene also talks about countering chaos with order. Many conflicts escalate because one side becomes reactive and disorganized. Emotional responses scatter focus. Strategic defense requires calm structure. When attacked verbally, silence can be a defense. When overwhelmed, simplification can be a defense. When pressured, slowing down can be a defense. Defense is about absorbing pressure without breaking. Another key idea in this section is protecting your weak points. Everyone has vulnerabilities. The mistake is pretending they don't exist. The strategic approach is acknowledging them and shielding them. If you know you're emotionally reactive to criticism, you prepare for it. If you know you struggle under pressure, you design systems to reduce it. If you know certain environments weaken you, you limit exposure. Awareness turns weakness into manageable risk. Greene also warns against being drawn into wars of attrition. These are conflicts that drain energy slowly over time. Endless arguments, ongoing rivalries, constant stress. Even if you're winning, the cost may be too high. Strategic defense means choosing conflicts that are worth the energy they consume. Perhaps the most important defensive lesson here is not internalizing attacks. When you take every challenge personally, you lose objectivity. You begin fighting for pride instead of outcome. Detachment allows you to respond intelligently instead of emotionally. Defense, in Greene's philosophy, is not fear-based. It is awareness-based. You are not hiding. You are choosing where and when to engage. Once defense is secured, Robert Greene turns to the moment many people misunderstand, the offensive phase. Most think offense means aggression. Greene argues that true offense is about timing, positioning, and precision, not brute force. The biggest mistake people make when going on the offensive is acting too early. They strike out of emotion, excitement, or impatience. In doing so, they alert others, waste energy, and often expose themselves. Strategic offense begins with waiting. You wait until conditions are right, until the opponent is distracted, overconfident, divided, or exhausted. History shows that the most decisive victories come when the other side least expects resistance. Greene emphasizes the importance of initiative. Whoever controls the pace of events controls the outcome. When you react, you are behind. When you act at the right moment, others are forced to respond to you. But initiative does not mean constant action. It means choosing the moment of action. Another key principle here is concentration of force. Instead of spreading effort across many fronts, you focus intensely on one decisive point. Scattered effort weakens impact. Focused pressure breaks resistance. In life, this might mean focusing on one skill that gives you leverage instead of chasing many. In conflict, it means targeting the root of the problem instead of its symptoms. Greene also discusses the power of surprise. Predictability is vulnerability. When others believe they understand your limits, they stop guarding against you. Surprise disrupts plans and creates psychological shock. This does not require deception for harm. It requires restraint, not revealing your intentions too early, not advertising every move. Silence becomes strategic. Another offensive strategy Greene highlights is forcing errors. When you apply pressure patiently, others begin to make mistakes. They rush, they overextend, they reveal weaknesses. Your role is not to panic, but to observe and exploit. Greene warns against chasing total destruction. The goal of offense is not domination for ego's sake. It is achieving your objective with minimal cost. Overaggression often creates backlash and long-term enemies. Strategic offense is selective. You strike where it matters most and withdraw when the objective is achieved. Greene also emphasizes ending conflicts decisively. Prolonged struggles drain energy and create instability. When action is necessary, it should aim to resolve the situation clearly. Half measures invite retaliation. This section teaches a powerful lesson. The strongest offense often looks calm. There is no rush, no drama, no noise, just precise action at the right time. Those who master this phase do not fight often, but when they do, they choose the moment carefully. As the 33 Strategies of War reaches its conclusion, Robert Greene makes one thing unmistakably clear. Strategy is not about fighting more, it is about thinking better. This book is not a call to aggression, it is a guide to awareness, to understanding conflict before it consumes you, to seeing patterns instead of reacting to moments. The greatest mistake people make in conflict is believing it is only external, that enemies exist outside them. Greene argues that the most dangerous opponent is often your own lack of awareness. Impulses, ego, fear, impatience, these internal forces sabotage strategy before any external pressure appears. When you master yourself, conflict loses much of its power over you. Greene teaches that every situation has a structure. There are forces, incentives, pressures, and weaknesses at play. Strategic thinkers look for this structure. They don't get lost in emotion. They analyze. This analysis creates distance. Distance creates clarity, and clarity allows choice. Another core lesson of the book is adaptability. No strategy works forever. Conditions change, people change, power shifts. Those who cling to one way of thinking eventually fail. Those who adjust survive and often thrive. This is why Greene emphasizes learning from many domains. Military history, politics, business, psychology, strategy is universal. The battlefield changes, but the principles remain. Greene also warns against moralizing conflict. Seeing opponents as villains clouds judgment. Strategic thinkers avoid emotional labeling. They focus on behavior, incentives, and outcomes. This does not mean abandoning ethics. It means separating emotion from analysis. Perhaps the most important insight of all is knowing when to avoid war entirely. The highest level of strategy is winning without fighting. Avoiding unnecessary conflict preserves energy, focus, and freedom. You do not need to dominate every situation. You need to choose which ones deserve your attention. In the end, the 33 Strategies of War is not about war. It is about control without aggression, strength without noise, and clarity in moments where others lose themselves. And that clarity is the real victory.